Hello, this time we're going to discuss about solving literal equations. Okay? In order to solve literal equations, we have here our main objectives. Use inverse operations to solve literal equations for a specified variable. Okay? So we have here, in order to solve literal equations, the first one, we're going to identify the variable which you are solving, the one we want to isolate. The next one, we're going to use inverse operations to isolate that variable. Then, combining like terms is not usually possible in solving literal equations. And then, we can add grouping symbols if needed to make sure that the order of operations does not change. Okay? So we have here the first example, solve m plus a equals p. Okay? Solve for m. What is the variable that we're going to isolate? The variable m. Okay? So first, you need to identify the variable you're going to isolate. So we have here the variable m. We're going to isolate, meaning to say we're going to get rid of positive a. Okay? So in order to get rid of positive a, we need to get the inverse operation. Or we have the opposite operation. Okay? So what is the opposite of positive a? It is negative a. So meaning to say you're going to write negative a on both sides of the equation. So you have here equals m positive a plus negative a, that will be 0, is equal to, can we combine p and a? No. We are not going to write negative a under p because they are not similar term. Okay? So since they are not similar term, you're just going to copy both variables. We have p, bring down p, minus a. Okay. So the value of m here is equal to p minus a. But then, try to recall, if we're going to consider the letters in the alphabet, what comes first? Is it a or p? Okay, it is a. So we can rewrite our final answer as m is equal to, write a first. Take a look. What is the sign of a? Do not change. It is negative. And then after that, you're going to write p. And what is the sign of p? You cannot see any sign here, and that is understood to be positive. Okay? So m is equal to negative a plus p. That is, if we're going to follow the letters in the alphabet. But there are cases that the answer is just this one. Okay? So either of the two can do. Okay? So that is the first example. Can you follow? Next, we have here, solve v is equal to LWH for W. Okay? V stands for volume. In solving literal equations, we are also solving formulas. Solve for W. So meaning to say, we're going to isolate W. Okay? So we are going to isolate W here. Meaning to say, we are going to get rid of the variable L and the variable H. Okay? So how are we going to get rid of that? Identify what is the operation between L and W. That is multiplication. How about here? What is the operation between W and H? That is still multiplication. And what is the inverse of multiplication? It is division. So we are going to divide both sides by L and then H. Okay? We can do them at the same time. Okay? So we're going to write L times 8. H, I should say. So L divided by L, that is 1. And H divided by H, that is 1. So what is the remaining variable there? It is W is equal to V over L times H. Or it can be W is equal to V over L H. Okay? Can you follow? Okay? Next, we have here, solve 3x plus 6 equals y. Solve for x. Okay? So we have here 3x plus 6 equals y. We're going to solve for x. We're going to identify the variable that we're going to isolate, and that is variable x. So how are we going to isolate it? Try to look at it. It has a coefficient of 3 and it has this positive 6. So we are going to get rid first of your 6. We need to get the opposite. And what is the opposite? That is negative 6. So you're going to write negative 6 on both sides of the equation. So you have to bring down 3x. Positive 6 minus 6, that will be 0, is equal to. We cannot subtract y and 6. So what are we going to do? We're just going to copy it. Y minus 6. Okay? So we have here, we are solving for the value of x, and try to observe the x has a coefficient of 3. Therefore, we're going to divide both sides of the equation by 3. If we have this case, we can do this one. Divide both sides by 3. Okay. So you now have 3 divided by 3, that will be cancelled out. So you now have x is equal to y minus 6 all over 3. Okay. So take a look on your answer. X is equal to y minus 6 all over 3. We can do the other way. Let us try to copy this part of the equation. 3x is equal to y minus 6. We are going to divide each term by 3. They're just the same, okay? Do not be confused. We just separate dividing y by 3 and dividing 6 by 3 so that we can simplify this part of the answer. So 3 divided by 3, that is 1. So you now have x is equal to y over 3. Can we divide directly y by 3? No. So you're just going to copy it. Then, what is 6 divided by 3? So that is equal to 2. Then negative divided by positive, that is negative. Okay? This is the simplified form of our previous answer. Okay? I am showing you these two types of answer because sometimes the final answer will be this one if it is in the multiple choice type of test. But then your answer should be this one. This is the simplified form. Okay? Any question on this? The next one we have here. Solve x over 3 plus 6y equals 2 for x. So we are going to isolate x. So we have here x over 3 plus 6y equals 2. Try to observe. There is a fraction on this side of the equation. Can we apply directly the cross multiplication? No. Okay? So what are the best thing that we're going to do? Are we going to move this already? Okay. So in order to solve for the value of x, I would suggest that we are going to eliminate first the denominator. Okay? Let us identify the denominator of each term. What is the denominator here? It is 3. How about 6y? What is the denominator? It is 1. How about 2? What is the denominator? It is 1 also. Okay? And then after that, we're going to write all the denominators. We have 3, 1, and 1. Now, let us try to factor its denominator. What are the factors of 3? You'll have 3 times 1. How about 1? What are the factors? 1 times 1. How about 1? What are the factors? It is still 1 times 1. So you have here 3 times, they have common factor 1 that will be taken as 1 times, this will be taken as 1 also. So you now have 3 times 1 that is 3 times 1 that is 3. Therefore, your LCD is equal to 3. Okay. So what is the use of your LCD? Okay? Meaning, we're going to multiply the whole equation by the LCD, which is 3. Okay? Do not forget that. What is the denominator of 3? Can you see any number here? No. But understood that that is 1. Okay? So next, this time, we are now going to apply distributive property of multiplication. Meaning, we're going to multiply 3 by the first term. 3 times x, that is 3x. Over 1 times 3, that is 3. Plus, because positive times positive, that is positive. 3 times 6. That is 18y. 6y, I should say. Then 1 times 1, that is 1, is equal to 3 times 2, that is 6, over 1 times 1, that is 1. Okay? We just apply the distributive property of multiplication. Now, let us now simplify the fractions. What is 3 divided by 3? That is 1. So, we now have x plus 18y. Do we need to write 1? No more. Is equal to 6 divided by 1, that is 6. Going back, we are solving for x, meaning to say we're going to isolate x. And x is on the left side of the equation. Therefore, we're going to get rid of this positive 18y. So we need to get the opposite of 18y, and that is negative 18y. Negative 18y. So you have x here, 18 plus negative 18, that is 0, is equal to, can we subtract this? No, because they are dissimilar terms. So you're just going to copy it. 6 minus 18y. What is the coefficient of x here? It is 1. So this is now the value of x. X is equal to 6 minus 18y. Your answer can be written as x equals 18y. What is the sign of 18y? Do not change it. Which is, so that is negative. And then 6. What is the sign of 6? You cannot see any sign here. So that is positive. We just interchange their position. Okay? So x equals 6 minus 18y. That is the answer. Or it can be x equals negative 18y plus 6. Any question? Okay? Next, we have here. Solve ax plus b equals y. Solve for x. Okay? Again, we're going to isolate your x. Just one. Your x is on the left side of the equation. Your x has a coefficient of a, and it has here b. So in order to isolate x, we need to get rid of positive b. So we have there the opposite, which is negative b. Negative b. Negative b should not be written under y because they are different variables. Okay? So you now have here ax. Positive b plus negative b, that will be 0, is equal to, bring down y minus b. Okay? Remember, we are solving for x. Your x should have a coefficient of 1, while here, it has a coefficient of a, so we need to get rid of a. And how to do that? We're going to divide, because the operation between a and x is multiplication, so we need to get the inverse, and that is division. So we're going to divide each side of the equation by a. So a divided by a, that is 1. So you now have x is equal to y minus b over a. Can you follow? So this is now the answer. Okay? Sometimes you will have this as the answer. Well, x equals y over a minus b over a. Okay? Do not be confused. And if we're going to follow the letters in the alphabet, we may have x equals negative b over a, then plus y over a. Do not be confused. I am presenting you 3 answers, but they are the same. Okay? Any question? Next, we have here, solve d equals m over v. solve for b. Meaning to say, we're going to isolate v. And your v is on the right side of the equation, and it is on the denominator. Okay. We have here as a fraction. Can we apply cross multiplication? Yes. What is the denominator of d? It is 1. So, in this kind of equation, you're just going to apply cross multiplication. So, you're going to multiply d times v. So, you have dv is equal to 1 times m, that is 1m, or we are just going to write m. Remember, we are solving for v, and your v has d. So we are going to get rid of d. So what is the operation between d and v? Multiplication. And what is the inverse of multiplication? It is division. Therefore, we're going to divide both sides of the equation by d, because we are isolating the variable v. Okay? So d divided by d, that is 1. So the remaining variable is v equals m over d. Okay? So this is now the final answer. V is equal to m over d. Okay? The next one we have here, solving formulas for a variable. The formula for a person's typing speed is equal to S equals W minus 10E over M, where S is the speed in words per minute, W is the words typed, and E is the number of errors, and M is the number of minutes typing. Solve for E. So you are going to isolate E. And your E is on the right side of the equation. And it is a fraction. Okay? So you can see here, W minus 10E all over M. That is taken as one term. Okay? So in this case, can we apply cross multiplication? Yes. So what is the denominator here? It is 1. So just cross multiply. S times M, that is S M, is equal to 1 multiplied by the quantity W minus 10E. Okay? Can you follow? So you now have SM is equal to the operation between 1 and this whole expression is multiplication. So we're just going to apply the distributive property. 1 times W, that is 1W, or just W. Then 1 times 10E, that is 10E. And what is the sign? Positive times negative, that is negative. Okay? Remember, we are solving for the value of E. So we're going to get rid of W. Okay? So what is the opposite of W? That is negative W. Negative W. Okay? So we cannot subtract SM to that of W. So you're just going to copy it. SM minus W equals W minus W, that will be 0. So the remaining term is negative 10e. Okay? Can we rewrite it here? Sm minus w equals negative 10e. Going back, we're solving for e. Therefore, we're going to get rid of the coefficient of e, which is negative 10. The coefficient should be positive 1, meaning we're going to divide each side of the equation by negative 10. Okay? So, it would be better for us to divide this by negative 10 each term. Okay? So you now have, we cannot divide Sm by 10, so you're just going to copy Sm over 10. Positive divided by negative, that is negative. Then, negative divided by negative, that will be positive. W over 10 is equal to negative 10 divided by negative 10, that is 1. So you now have here E. Okay? So, the value of E is equal to negative Sm over 10 plus W over 10. We can also rewrite this as one fraction. Since they have the same denominator, we have E is equal to negative Sm plus W all over 10. Okay? Any question? Okay. So we have here, solve for I in the equation. F equals I minus gt. We are solving for I, this one. We're going to isolate it. So therefore, we need to get rid of negative gt. And we need to get the opposite. And what is the opposite? Positive gt. Okay, so we're going to write positive gt on both sides of the equation. So you now have here f plus gt, okay, is equal to I. Negative gt plus gt, that will be 0. Therefore, f plus gt is equal to I, or I equals f plus